Are you the most conservative leader the Liberal Party has ever had?
Probably you'd have an enormous debate on that.
I think it would be as difficult for John Howard to be a small L Liberal as it would for Gough Whitlam to be a Boot Hills Tory.
In 2 weeks' time, this man could be Australia's next Prime Minister. Tonight on Four Corners, we travel with John Howard and delve into his past to find the real John Howard.
You are putting to me that I've changed, and I say no.
At the Adelaide Oval, it's David Boone's last test for Australia. John Howard is still to face his last test on March the 2nd. Is that Boone out there?
Yes.
Have you got a particular affection for him?
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of people. He's just been one of the bulwarks and the mainstays. We went through that difficult period in the mid-80s, and he and Border, between them, really sort of held the show together.
John Howard also had a difficult period in the 80s. He was dropped by his own team, but he's nothing if not a stayer.
He and John Gorton would be in a photo finish for probably the worst cricket player that the politicians' cricket team has ever had. But although he had no ability, he stuck there and he got hit and he misfielded and he came up like a true sport. I greatly admired him during those days.
Do you think there are any parallels between politics and cricket?
Oh, yeah,
playing the game?
Oh, yeah, enormous number. That's one of the reasons I like both of them. There's great similarities, and you can certainly draw analogies between cricketers.
What, in terms of strategy? In terms of planning the team, planning?
Oh, no more their sort of approach to it, persistency over a long period of time, things like that.
Yeah? Sort of thing that you might see yourself as having a strength in, John?
That's for others to judge, but I think sticking at it and being dogged is part of the game.
I have met a lot of people in my life, but I don't think I've ever met anybody more determined than John Howard. I mean, he is a tremendously gutsy person. You think what's being dished out to that man, particularly since 1983. I mean, he has been hammered and hammered and hammered. But look, he's there.
And what sort of game are you playing now in this election?
Oh, I'm playing to win. The Labor Party's got the ashes at the moment, and I'm going to win them back.
The coalition's strategy has been to play it safe. Not too flashy, not too radical, a low-risk game plan.
We're playing a very straight bat, and we're refusing to flash at rising balls outside the off stump. Otherwise, we'll get caught in slips.
The cautious, guarded style suits John Howard's natural instincts, and this time it may well give him the game. How would you describe yourself?
As a person, I think somebody very much with quintessential Australian values. I'm direct, I'm unpretentious, I think I'm pretty dogged, and I hope I've got a capacity to laugh at myself and not take myself too seriously.
So if you chose 3 words, they'd be?
I hope I'd like to be seen as an average Australian bloke.
And
I can't think of a nobler description of anybody than to be called an average Australian bloke.
Is an average Australian bloke the sort of bloke who's going to be Prime Minister of Australia?
But people can have other qualities than just being described as an average Australian bloke. I think you've got to have a combination of identifying with somebody, but also respecting in them certain values.
It's Australia Day in Hunters Hill. These are John Howard's constituents.
Hello. Familiar faces, how are you? G'day, how
are you? John Howard is one of the most familiar faces in Australian politics.
Hello.
He's been around a long time, and he's done all this many times before. But it's hard to get beneath the g'day and the handshake.
I've played cricket with him, I've had dinner with him, I've been in a shadow cabinet with him, and I still find it difficult. And that doesn't mean necessarily it's a mark against him. I think it's really, he's a private man, very rarely indulges or has the self-indulgence of a belly laugh, very seldom relaxes to the extent of having a wee bit too much to drink so you can get inside the man.
Well, it's a great morning. Thank you for your coat on my side.
John Howard is best known for his staunch defence of the monarchy, the traditional family, and radical industrial relations reform. In the past, he's pinned his colours to the mast on such issues.
Yes. Anyway, good to see you.
But now he's softer, more user-friendly.
Hi, how are you?
His change of direction has caused confusion. What does he really stand for? What are his values? How would he use power? John Howard once proclaimed, "In politics, it's more important to be right than to be popular." Now he's not so sure. Take Medicare. One of the other things that voters are asking themselves now is, what does John Howard stand for? So I'd like to run through a few of the issues that will be big in this debate, Medicare being the first. When did you change your mind about Medicare?
What part of it?
That, well, for instance, that it was a total disaster. When did you change your view that Medicare was a total disaster?
I have accepted for some years now that the Australian people like Medicare and they want to keep it.
When did you change your view that bulk billing was a rort?
Once again, the Australian people made a decision that they wanted to keep bulk billing, and they therefore... and look, on all of these sorts of issues, anybody who has the same view year in and year out, irrespective of the expression of public opinion, is stupid.
So you changed your view on bulk billing and Medicare generally because of public opinion?
Public opinion played a very major part on both of those issues, yes.
What do you think of the view that politicians should stand for what is right, not what is popular?
I think on most occasions that is absolutely correct, but it must also be tempered by the recognition that if people express a definitive view, you have to accept that their right to make the decision is superior to yours.
So those are your words in 1986, that a politician should stand for what is right,
not
what is popular. But you've now changed that view to accommodate...
I remember them very, very clearly. There's really no inconsistency. I mean, there are a lot of things that I argue for that aren't necessarily popular. But
you say that you're prepared to take unpopular views. I mean, I think that you'd have to concede there are increasingly few areas in which you're prepared to take the unpopular position. What are the unpopular views that you now hold?
I think if you went out and did a poll on foreign investment, most people would say they were against it. But I would not like there to be an increase in foreign investment, but I support the need for Australia to take continued amounts of foreign investment. I mean, there are numerous areas like that.
Any other bitter, unpopular pills that you'd like to tell us that you have?
I think foreign investment is a good example.
Senator Michael Baume is one of John Howard's oldest political chums.
I have great difficulty coping with the nonsense the Labor Party puts out, but B, the extraordinarily receptive attitude of sections of the media to this, that somehow Howard has dramatically changed his message. Absolute bunkum. The message has always been to those who work hard, and I was talking about his, if you like, Methodist approach to life. To those who work hard and try harder, there should be the rewards. To those who don't, the rewards should not be the same. And nothing has changed, except the way of expressing it.
John Howard's core values were formed in the 1940s and 50s in the middle-class Sydney suburb of Earlwood. Back then, it was what Howard once described as a liberal voting oasis in a desert of Labor. He grew up in this average suburban home.
I grew up in a strong family. We had strong family bonds. I was the youngest of 4 boys. And both of my parents were very dedicated family people. I mean, I really owe them everything as far as teaching me values and their loyalty to me. It was magnificent, and their hard work. They both left school at 14. And it was, but I was brought up in a home that sort of believed in the values of hard work and honesty and commitment to one's country and commitment to one's community.
A political home? Was politics something that was discussed?
Yeah, politics. My father wasn't an active member of the Liberal Party, although he was a financial member. We talked about politics a lot.
Was there much talk then about the Labor Party?
Oh yes, we didn't like them. We thought they were hopeless. I mean, Dad was a small businessman. Anybody who was in small business thought the Labor Party was the pits.
John's father, Lyle, owned this garage. He worked from 7:30 in the morning until late in the evening, and often 7 days a week.
The small business ambience was very strong. The idea that the best thing he could ever do was start with nothing and build up a small business through hard work.
John was closer to his mother. Mona Howard was a devout convert to Methodism. The local Methodist church was just over the road from what used to be the Howard home. It's now a fast food outlet. The family were part of the church's regular congregation. John and his brothers were brought up to respect the Methodist values of self-restraint, abstinence and thrift.
They had a high regard for the traditional institutions and values, and didn't look kindly on most forms of excesses.
We weren't what I'd call a wowzerish family, but on the other hand, the church had an influence. We were all associated with it, and I've sort of still retained the sort of mainstream Protestant values, Christian values that I was taught then.
What were your fondest memories of that time?
Oh, I think if you had a rainy Saturday afternoon or something, everybody was in home. I enjoyed the company of my older brothers. I was the youngest. I enjoyed anything that involved all the family being together.
John was then closest to his brother Bob, but over time, politically, they've moved apart.
One of my brothers in his 20s joined the Labor Party. I think he was probably influenced by the Vietnam War. He's 3 years older than I, and he's a university lecturer. Oh, we had a number of heated debates. We don't argue anymore, though.
The 1966 election was fought around the heat of Vietnam. Then in his 20s, John was an active young Liberal, on the streets warning that communism could descend from our north.
The future security of this country.
When you say you were caught up in the Vietnam debate, you of course supported Australia's involvement.
Yeah. I mean,
with hindsight, any rethinking of that position?
No, I don't.
And it was right for us to be there?
Well, I supported the decision that was taken by the government then, yes.
And now?
Well, I have no reason to... I mean, I think the view I took at the time was correct, yes.
5, 6, 7, 8. The US must capitulate. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Have you got favourite music?
Yeah, I guess many of the so-called protest songs of like Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, I liked them immensely.
But you weren't part of that protest generation?
Well, my views were different than some of them. I mean, I guess, everybody has... Look, you shouldn't get so hung up, you shouldn't be so politically correct that somebody who may not necessarily share the views of the vocalist can't enjoy the music. I mean, that's very narrow-minded. That's the sort of thing you expect from the politically correct brigade.
John is remembered as a conservative student, even by the standards of Sydney Law School in the 1950s. A youthful-looking, bewildered, ambitious young man. In class, he sat next to Murray Tobias, now a leading Sydney barrister.
I don't think John has changed very much from then until today. In terms of his personality, he was always a serious young man. In many respects, most of us were. He wasn't a party animal. He wasn't a womaniser by any means, and he was not a drinker. In those days, as students tended to do, you enjoyed your parties and you enjoyed your pub. In those days, I think it was the old Australia Hotel on the corner of Castlereagh and Martin Place. And I don't recollect seeing him breasting the long bar there at all.
I remember couple of the great lecturers I had at the law school. I found it by and large interesting. Yeah.
By and large.
That doesn't sound very enthusiastic, but I mean, you don't really. I mean, university is a bit of a chore. I mean, let's face it.
Was he keen on the law?
I think he regarded the law as an appropriate educational background for what was his ultimate ambition, which was to go into politics. And I think he saw the law merely as a stepping stone to a political career. I don't think that he ever intended to be a practising lawyer, although of course he did for some years after he graduated.
John had already formed his single-minded ambition in life, to be a politician and to rise to the top. He joined the Young Liberals at 18 and was New South Wales State President by 26. It was time to turn professional, and he set about learning the trade. His mentor was Sir John Carrick, an influential Liberal senator.
I've never known a fellow who wanted to learn more from the grassroots all the way up through politics, through Parliament and government, because politics is really a very exacting and complex profession, even though it sometimes seems a slangy match.
In 1973, he won pre-selection for the safe Liberal seat of Bennelong, which he held for the Liberals in the 74 election the following year. At 34, he'd made it to Canberra. Can you paint us a picture of your first impressions of John Howard?
Very energetic, very enthusiastic. I recall when shortly after he was elected to the Parliament, enthusiasm and a lot of energy, almost to the point of bubbling.
Very able, ambitious, an enthusiastic member of the party. I quite soon appointed him into the ministry and also quite soon into the cabinet.
We'd meet at the airport and I was, yet another week in Canberra, grown, but John was really keen. He was sort of like a footballer running onto a field, a tennis player running onto a tennis court. John really wanted to be there. That's what he liked.
When Gerard Henderson worked as Howard's advisor back in the mid-80s, Howard was developing a profile as a proponent of dry economic reform. John Howard's views had been strongly influenced by a previous advisor, Dr John Hewson. Hewson was on his staff for 5 years when Howard was Treasurer.
I mean, what was impressive about John Howard to me was that, as someone who's been critical of a lot of Liberals, was that he was good at policy, that he was interested in issues, that you could talk to him about policy. I mean, that's his strength.
He was a man I earmarked for some success because he was an assiduous worker, and he would be prepared to delve into the most boring sort of long-term tasks to do something for the party and for the cabinet. But I never got much excitement out of what he said or what he unearthed. Never.
So when you say head of the top, did you think headed for the very top?
I could never would have imagined him to be headed for the very top, because he's a man almost totally without charisma.
It's never an obstacle, a lack of charisma in politics, if you accompany it with drive and enthusiasm. John never sought to be charismatic. He didn't have to be.
John Howard has made the long march to the top of Liberal politics, charisma or no charisma. He's now the undisputed leader of their club. But But along the way, in his own words, he's been to hell and back.
Mr. Rakesh Chandra Gupta and Mrs. Anita Rakesh Gupta.
Very nice to meet you. Bye-bye, sweetheart.
He first became leader of the Liberals back in 1985 and then led them to defeat in the 1987 election.
Those things that unite us as Australians are much greater and more enduring than those things that divide us.
20 months later, he was dumped for Andrew Peacock. In the present climate, it's a touchy subject. And why was there the view that you could win and he couldn't?
Well, you'd have to ask those who approached me.
But you must have believed it.
Yeah, sure, I've got my own views on it, but those sorts of views at that time are not going to rake over.
Why not?
Well, why should I do that in a program running down to an election?
When he became leader, the pressures of leadership led him to back and fill in a number of areas, and he started to lose his major credentials. You can always support and respect a person if they're consistently and constantly going in the one direction. But when they start to pull back or start to vary, you wonder where in the heck you're going.
He'd become paranoid. He had very few people that he spoke to. He spoke to his wife, he spoke to Graham Morris, but he didn't engage the whole party. And as people become paranoid, become self-fulfilling, they become alienated, and they become less of a leader.
Were you a good leader when you were leader of the Liberal Party in 1987?
Well, my colleagues didn't think I was good enough, so they got rid of me, but then they had second thoughts and brought me back, so I think that says something.
Because the record shows that you were unable to inspire loyalty amongst your own colleagues. You're unable to satisfy them that you had the leadership qualities that were necessary.
The relevant record is the more contemporary one.
You've got to be able to inspire loyalty and lead people
for
more than 12 months.
I've done that magnificently, I believe.
Over 12 months?
Over the last 12 months, yes.
What about the fact that in the past, when you've been in the top job, people have had doubts about your leadership qualities and people have criticised them and have said, John gets indecisive when he holds power, he becomes wobbly with power, he's not a good chairman, he talks too much. All those comments have been on the television, we've all seen them, from your former parliamentary colleagues just last year.
Well, I think all of that's quite irrelevant, yeah. Quite irrelevant. Couldn't care less. I don't think anybody out there cares less about what somebody said about something happening in 1986. They couldn't give a damn.
Why did it take the Liberal Party so long to give John Howard a second chance at an election?
Well, because he was the leader before and there'd been a lot of problems that time around, and ultimately he was overthrown in May 1989 as the leader, so there was a view that there'd been problems before. Maybe if you put him back, well, the question was, if you put him back, had he learnt from the mistakes of his leadership before, or hadn't he?
Everybody learns with the passage of time.
And what have you learnt
about
lot. Leadership?
A lot.
Do you care to elaborate on that, Andrew?
No, I think I've learnt a lot. Hi, John. G'day, Bob. How are you?
There have been a lot of lessons learned in the Liberal Party since they lost the last election, the 5th in a row. A lot of rethinking about their mistakes, about their direction and leadership. The Liberals flirted with a range of leadership contenders to replace John Hewson before they returned to Howard. There was a concern he'd be seen as a recycled leader. And of course there was his old rival, Andrew Peacock. Is it as simple as saying that Andrew Peacock was not prepared to see John Howard as leader?
Well, that was obviously a factor, but it's past history, not relevant to today.
In 1990, I blocked him. I only supported John Hewson continuing.
As John Howard approaches the election, the focus is increasingly on who leads the parties. The press conference has been called to announce the coalition's communications policy, and here, as elsewhere, the policy gap between the major parties has narrowed.
The difference is that I've been honest enough to say before the election what I will do. He will not tell you before the election what he will do after the election if he is re-elected.
The difference being emphasised in both campaigns is the style of leadership.
I think it's true, whether it's a bowling club or the Prime Ministership, people are essentially interested in who is calling the shots, and so it's a big part of the campaign, and we were very pleased that Paul Keating sought to introduce it, because John, I think, will match him every inch of the way.
What do you see as your leadership qualities?
I think I'm seen as trustworthy. I'm seen as having determination and persistence, and I'm seen as having a capacity to reach achievable answers to difficult issues.
Persistence and trustworthy. If you look at the polls, in terms of the qualities like strength, polls taken at the end of last year show that 40% of people see the present Prime Minister, Paul Keating, as strong, 11% see you as strong, 14% see Keating as indecisive, 32% see you as indecisive.
And about 150% of all of those people polled don't trust him. So I think he's got a problem.
So are you putting up trustworthiness and persistence against strength and decisiveness?
I think all things are important, but really this is a pretty stupid sort of exchange. I mean, the people in a few days' time or a few weeks' time are going to decide it all. I think
you're in a head-to-head with Paul Keating. Right now you're in a head-to-head, and you've got to convince people that you have the qualities that can lead this country.
But I do, and they don't think they're going to vote for him. I don't think people see me as lacking leadership strength. I think they do trust me, whereas they profoundly mistrust him. But the people will decide that in a few weeks' time, not you and I.
Ballarat, Victoria. It's the people in marginal seats like this that will decide the election outcome. It's here that the so-called Kennett factor will be tested. Schools have closed and railway services have been cut. Labor is hoping to pick up seats like this.
If we get a repeat of the status quo in Victoria, that'll be a good result for us, because I expect that we'll win seats in New South Wales and Queensland. My gut feeling is that we'll hold what we've got in Victoria and perhaps pick up one or two. That'd be my feeling.
Yeah. What about the Kennett factor, though? I mean, just even here in Ballarat. Yeah?
Overrated, I think.
I was talking to Michael Ronaldson, and between 10 and 15 schools have closed here. Now, I know that's a state issue, but electors here might choose to pay out on you on that one.
Don't think they will.
Don't think they will?
No. Anyway, we'll see.
Come inside. Good trip up. How are you?
I had a very good trip. Yeah, we came up in the 8748.
Michael Ronaldson is the local Liberal member. He holds the seat of Ballarat by a margin of just 1.6%. The plan for Howard's Day is a visit to a factory, an address to business, and interviews with the local media.
Just go straight ahead.
Our policy pitch of getting small business going again as a way of reducing unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, will be very well received in Ballarat. It's the very electorate that will find our pro-small business policy extremely attractive. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.
The Mirror factory employs around 30 people. They make horseshoe nails. 3 years ago, John Howard was telling workers the industrial relations system needed radical reform. His new policy is friendlier. Workers can no longer be forced off awards, the $3 an hour youth wage is gone, and there's John Howard's rock-solid guarantee that workers will not lose take-home pay. The main aim remains to cut out the unions. John Howard is unlikely to encounter much flack in this environment. No unionists are employed at Mirror, and all the workers are on individual contracts. You think there'll be more workplaces like Mirror which have no union representation if the coalition win the election? at the end of your term?
Well, I think there'll be a lot more that have agreements that have been directly negotiated between the owners and the workers, even though some of the workers will be union members. You see, under our policy...
Would you like to see that, though? Would you like to see more workplaces without the need or the...
No, I would like to see more workplaces where the agreements are made directly between the workers and the employer, because if you have a direct commitment to somebody, you will look after them better. Over the time that he's been Prime Minister,
and then it's on to address local business.
And that brings me to the industrial relations policy that I launched a couple of weeks ago. I'm intrigued at the Prime Minister's response. He can't quite make up his mind how to attack my industrial relations policy. On the one hand, he's saying that I really don't now mean what I'm saying, and that if I get elected, I'm going to do something completely different. But in the next breath, he's saying that I've abandoned all of my principles. Now, let me make it perfectly clear that I haven't abandoned one principle when it comes to industrial relations.
John Howard made a lot of his public profile, in a sense, from being an outspoken critic of the industrial relations system that we had and calling for radical change of that system. He's now calling for a less radical change. Which is the real John Howard?
The John Howard today.
What happened to the other one?
Well, you learn.
I'd like to talk about industrial relations. Do you accept that you've changed your view on industrial relations?
Where?
From certainly your policy position has changed. Would you accept your policy position?
No, I don't. You
has
tell me
changed?
where I've changed.
Do you not accept that the policy...
No, you are putting...
Okay.
You are putting to me that I've changed, and I say no. Now I'm asking you to tell me where I have changed.
In 1993, you advocated a $3 youth wage. Have you changed your view about that?
I have on that.
Were you correctly reported in 1994 as saying that the Coalition would scrap award-based minimum wages?
In 1994, I don't remember that particular attribution, but I've never believed in lower wages. Never.
$3 is a low wage.
But that was connected with job creation for young people. And I wasn't arguing then that existing wages should be cut. I was arguing that a lower entry price, so to speak, into the labour market would help to reduce youth unemployment.
It's another day and another marginal Liberal electorate. This time Hindmarsh in Adelaide. A swing of less than 2% would lose the seat. It has a big Greek population.
Your Grace.
How nice to see you.
I am very sorry I'm late, but it was the vagaries
Is
of
it right?
Sydney Airport.
I am very proud.
Well, I'm very honoured
and
that you
very
received
honoured
me.
to see you here. Thank you for including us in your very heavy schedule.
Well, you're very kind to receive me, sir.
In your face, I see not only an old friend of ours, but the Australia's Prime Minister of tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you, Your
Please.
Grace.
One of John Howard's greatest blunders in his last term of leadership was to canvass lowering the level of Asian immigration.
He'd just come back from a visit with Margaret Thatcher. He could see how that sort of move to the right had worked, gave you authority, gave you leadership, but he just pushed it a bit too far. Lately he's regretted it, and I believe him in that. I think it is something he does regret, and it's something, had he not gone that far, the whole history may have been different.
Well, I think I dealt with that fairly fully about a year ago, and in a way that few Australian politicians have dealt with issues. I dealt with it with candour and frankness, and I've long since decided that that was that, and I've got nothing further to say about it.
One of your coalition candidates said that our sources of immigration should be skewed more to European sources of immigration. What's your response to that view?
Well, he was speaking for himself. It's not coalition policy. We have a non-discriminatory immigration policy, full stop, and he won't be saying any more on that subject during the campaign.
Does it make it difficult, though, for you to discipline somebody for saying that when you yourself raised the same issue in terms of the sources of our immigration?
Well, he's a National Party member.
He's part of the coalition?
There's a Liberal candidate in that seat, so really it's a matter, when you talk about discipline, I've not even spoken to him, I've never met the man.
You don't feel here's an echo from my past come back to revisit me?
No. I grew up in Earlwood.
In Earlwood?
Yes, I was born in William Street, Earlwood.
Oh, lovely.
Which, of course, I often say to my Greek friends that I wasn't born in Greece, but I was born in William Street, Earlwood, which is the next best thing.
When it comes to Australia's national identity, John Howard is a traditionalist. He favours keeping the Queen as Australia's head of state. Howard urged the Liberal Party before the last election to take a strong stand against the Republic, but that's now also in the past.
In joyful strains then let us sing, Advent Australia.
Do you think Australia will be a republic by the year 2000?
I'm not certain that it will.
But it's possible.
Oh, anything's possible.
Are you still yourself as personally opposed?
Well, if there were a referendum tomorrow, I would vote to retain the present system. I'm not a Republican. I've never denied that. But I'm a Democrat above everything else.
I am yet to identify an issue in which he does involve himself at the cost of his career or cost of votes. You say industrial relations. I was hoping he would show some bravery, because there's nobody who wants the bandits and the trade unions tamed more than I do. And I thought, here's our great hope, he's going to do it. But he didn't goddamn well do it. He backed off. The monarchy? Has he taken a stand on the monarchy? I wish he would. The family, now, don't tell me the family, for heaven's sake. I mean, the politician's most artful ploy is, I love motherhood. Now, what the hell does that mean?
It's a set piece for the media in the Bennelong campaign office. John Howard with his family. Howard is still an unabashed supporter of the traditional family. In this area, his own views would be shared by the majority of voters. But in so many other areas, his gut conservative instincts have put him out of step with mainstream Australia, the folk he likes to see as his natural constituency. He's had to follow the lead of public opinion back to the middle ground. The critical question for a lot of voters, though, is who is the real John Howard? And throughout this interview, just looking at three issues in particular. On Medicare, you say, I've listened to what people want. On the youth wage, you said, I listen to what people want. On republicanism, I'll listen to what people want. You've built your political reputation on standing up for what you believe in, what you believe is right. Do you think that by saying, well, I'll now listen to what everybody else thinks is right, you're jeopardising your greatest political asset?
If you look back over the last 15 years, the two biggest ideas that have either transformed or have had the potential to transform the Australian economy have been financial deregulation and industrial relations reform. Both of those concepts, both of them, were creations of John Howard, and each of them was bitterly opposed by Paul Keating when John Howard first put them forward. I was the author of the two greatest ideas that have affected the Australian economy over that period of time.
So you'd go as far as that author and creator of the two most important
ideas? There were
ideas?
authors and creators before John, but John gave voice to it in the most important institution in Australian politics, the House of Representatives, and he was vilified for it, and he has been proven to be correct.
So he was a voice for them?
He was a voice for them, and in fact he was more than a voice, an author and a creator. He would say, look, there were many before me calling for this.
It took him quite some time to embrace financial sector deregulation as an area that he would pursue. I can remember talking to him about it many times before we ultimately established the Campbell Committee. I felt at the time we were very slow to get there, and the great irony, of course, is that Paul Keating walked around and took credit for what was inevitable.
Can you give us a John Howard vision for the year 2000 to the Australian public, such that they will see, yes, this is the person we would like to be Prime Minister?
Let me respond to your question by saying this. By the year 2000, I would like to see an Australian nation that feels comfortable and relaxed about three things. I would like to see them comfortable and relaxed about their history. I'd like to see them comfortable and relaxed about the present. And I'd also like to see them comfortable and relaxed about the future. We want to see an Australian society where the small business sector is providing more jobs for young people. I want to see an Australian society that sees this country as a unique intersection of Europe, North America and Asia. And if we think of ourselves as that strategic intersection, then I think we have a remarkable opportunity to carve a special niche for ourselves in the history of the next century.
But do you think, to pick up on those words, comfortable and relaxed, do you think that's a dynamic enough vision to inspire Australians as they move into the next millennium? Is that dynamic enough for Australians?
I think people do want to feel comfortable and relaxed.
They don't want to feel excited?
Well, you can't possibly hope to feel excited about something unless you feel comfortable and familiar with it. If you really want to drive Australians away from interest in something, you disturb their sense of sort of comfort about it, and you'll succeed in driving them away from it. I mean, it's very important that we don't as a nation spend our lives apologising for the past.
At the end of the day, John Howard may well be right. The polls are looking good. Officially, the line is, we're not there yet. But sometimes the guard slips. John Howard believes he will be our next Prime Minister. Do you feel it is finally within your grasp?
Yes, I do.
Have you been waiting a long time for it?
Different ways, yes. But you don't sort of lay awake at night thinking of it in those terms. You try and sleep, actually. And mostly I do.